There are only two things that we really care about at work. First, we need to know that we matter. And secondly, we need to know that we belong. I challenge you to think about anything you care about that doesn't relate back to one of these two things. These two things are so fundamental, and no matter where we sit in a business or team, no matter what our title, our seniority, our salary, or our background, in order to survive and thrive at work, we need to have these two basic needs met. So if we share these two basic needs, how can we meet them for each other? I think that there is one thing that if we get right will act as a catalyst for meeting those needs. It's something we can all do already. And it's something that if we learn to do really well, it can become our team's magic ingredient for meeting those fundamental needs. So what is it? The magic ingredient is our ability to listen to each other. Listen so that we feel heard. We all know when this happens. And frankly, it can be a really rare experience. So just for a moment, I want you to pause, whatever you're doing. Just take a moment and pause. Close your eyes if you're able to. And recall, when was the last time you felt really heard? When was the last time the person in front of you made you feel that what you were saying really mattered? In fact, it mattered so much that they might even change their mind. They might take different action. Or they just might understand you in a way that they simply couldn't before. How do you feel when you recall that moment? Wouldn't it be great if we all had more of that in our lives? Listening is a skill, and it's a skill that we need to work hard to build and preserve. We all have shorter attention spans, and our world moves so fast that we're now very used to moving quickly on before we've made time to really understand the person in front of us. And teams who listen, really listen to each other, feel that they matter and they belong. I mentioned something earlier, but I want to repeat because it's so powerful. To help the people around us feel they matter and belong, we must listen in a way that makes them believe our aim is to understand them, to really get their point of view and why they think what they do. We must listen in a way that means that we could change our minds. After all, if we aren't listening this way, what's the point of the conversation? Of course, this doesn't mean that we are going to change our minds, but it means we're going to be open to it and we're listening to understand and not to respond. So that's the magic ingredient. Listen in a way that the person in front of you really feels valued. Now, if you'd like to know more about this and to learn practical tips on how to listen to understand and not to respond, there are two tools that I'd love to offer you. The first is a podcast, and probably the best content I've heard on why the power of listening matters. And the second is a quiz, which will help us diagnose what our own personal listening villain is. Because when we learn what's holding us back from listening, we can choose to do something about it. We all need to feel that we matter and that we belong. And learning to listen to each other is a great start. So thank you for listening to me.